Let's turn to Canada now. Their parliament started on a solemn note yesterday. With a moment of silence, all the lawmakers joined in. They stood in silence with their head bowed. It was quite a sight. Such gestures are not uncommon in parliaments. Usually they are done to mark a tragedy or to remember victims of terrorism. But not this one. Canada's moment of silence was for a terrorist.
Following discussions among representatives of all parties in the House, I understand that there is an agreement to observe a moment of silence in memory of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, assassinated in Surrey, British Columbia, 1 year ago today. I now invite honourable members to rise.
How about that? A moment of silence for Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a bona fide Khalistani separatist. A man designated as a terrorist by the government of India. How can a democracy do this? It's bad enough to host and cultivate a terrorist. Canada has gone one step ahead. They're openly and officially mourning a slain terrorist. And it's not just Justin Trudeau's government. I hope you heard what the Canadian speaker said. All parties agreed to this moment of silence, meaning the opposition signed on. Imagine if some other country had done this, honoured a terrorist in their parliament. The reaction would have been very, very different. But no one is questioning Canada. Nijjar wasn't some martyr who gave up his life for the country. He was a terrorist, a man of violence who met a violent end. Canada has tried hard to cover that up. Many news publications there called him an ordinary plumber. In that case, why is Canada's parliament honouring him? Does every victim of street violence get a moment of silence in their parliament? So let's call it what it is, a purely political move meant to appease Khalistanis. But why now? Because Tuesday was Nijjar's death anniversary. On June 18th last year, he was shot dead in British Columbia. Canada accuses India of ordering this hit. But India has denied the allegations, and this controversy has already plunged relations to rock bottom. Yet what does Canada do? Celebrate Nijjar inside its parliament. Which makes one thing quite clear. Justin Trudeau is not interested in handling this responsibly. He wants to make a spectacle out of it. He wants to milk it for political gains, and his attitude is emboldening Khalistanis. They organized a rally on Tuesday. Look at the posters they use. They've edited a picture of Prime Minister Modi. It shows him behind bars in a prisoner's clothing. And look at the caption. It says, "I killed Nijjar." What sort of country allows this? We understand free speech and expression, but this is beyond that. These separatists are calling a Prime Minister a murderer, yet Canada does nothing. Compare this to what happened in 2021. A protester threw gravel at Justin Trudeau, tiny pieces. So Trudeau did not even realize what happened. But guess what Canada did? The case dragged on for 2 years, and in 2023, the man got 90 days of house arrest and 1 year of probation. What does that tell you? That Canada does have limits for protesting. They just don't apply to protests against India. The question is, what more can New Delhi do? We've tried sharp statements, we've tried condemnation. None of it has worked. Western politicians refuse to acknowledge the Khalistani problem. Of course, some of it is political. In Canada, for instance, Khalistanis are a powerful political group. So leaders like Trudeau want their votes. No amount of diplomacy will sway them. But elsewhere, India could try harder. The first strategy is messaging, exposing the reality of the Khalistan movement. It has virtually disappeared in India. It is now largely a diaspora campaign. But how many in the West know that? They think that Khalistanis have popular support in India, so it's important to set the record straight. And how do you do that? Perhaps through speeches and statements at bodies like the United Nations. India regularly talks about terrorism. It also accuses countries like Pakistan of playing politics around it. So why not name Khalistani terrorism too? Why not use global forums to raise awareness? There's a great opportunity next week. Sunday, this coming Sunday, marks the anniversary of the Kanishk bombing. Kanishk was the name of an Air India flight. It was flying from Montreal to New Delhi in 1985. Khalistanis blew it up. They blew up the plane. It remains the worst terrorist attack in Canada's history. Justin Trudeau may not talk about it, but India should. Which brings us to the second strategy, and that is building support. You can't take on such missions alone. You need allies. So India must build a coalition of like-minded countries. I'll give you a few examples. Sri Lanka. They supported India against Canada. In fact, they have similar complaints. Colombo says that Sri Lankan terrorists have also found a new home in Canada. Another example is Bangladesh. They too have the same complaint. An assassin of Bangladesh's founding father lives in Canada, but Justin Trudeau has refused to extradite him. Russia is another case. They say Britain is harboring Chechen terrorists. So why can't these countries band together? Why can't they question this hypocrisy? This is the only way to make the West act. India has a lot of goodwill in the global south. It is time to put that goodwill to use.